Here's something some of our audience may not know about this month's podcast sponsor, pay.com.au. You can actually double dip on your rewards, pay your business bills inside the Pay platform and earn your credit card rewards points, then pay off that credit card inside the same platform and earn pay rewards. Same money, double rewards. Plus, for our Good Builder audience, you get 20,000 bonus points when you use the code GOOD20. Now, terms and conditions do apply, so go to the website pay.com.au/TGB to find out more.
Good morning and welcome to the Good Builder podcast. Today I've got a guy that I have wanted to speak to for so long, and the longer I spend with this gentleman, he invited me to his place. He actually is an owner of this particular business that we'll start talking about. The respect has grown just massively. We just went and had lunch. He told me about a few of his stories. He's been in the construction industry for over 20 years, and some of the roles he actually has performed are some of the most prestigious in the industry, and he's done them very, very well. He's got a great reputation. He's got great commercial sense. He's got great commercial experience. He's all about people. He's all about culture. He's all about accountability. Yep. And what I love about him is that, you know, one of the things too with the Good Builder is he throws his support behind things, and like just threw his support behind me and the Good Builder, and then also like a bunch of other things. And as we went to his place of work, we sort of saw that, and we saw the respect that he gets. It is utterly an absolute honour to have Dan Mulhern on from Apollo Patios. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very well, mate. That is very flattering.
Yeah.
That introduction.
Thanks, mate.
Some of the people who know me will go, I am a bit of a communicator, a bit of an extrovert. But when I hear what my exploits and what I've done sort of repeated back to me, I do get a bit humbled by it.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And but then you sit back and you go, we've had some conversations, and you sort of reflect on the journey, which your journey makes up who you are.
Yeah.
You get sometimes a little bit embarrassed by it, but sometimes you go, I've done well.
I think you should be really proud of it, Dan. As we talked about at lunch, and that was one of the other things I loved what you said, and you just repeated it there. And that's the thing, like you are so genuine. This isn't for the podcast, what you say, because when we were there, we were talking a bit about the Good Builder, and it's tough kicking off a business.
Yes.
And you've been in several positions where you've either had to not kick off a business, but realign a business and get teams back on board. We'll talk about that. But you said, enjoy the journey, man. And I was like, I'd like to. But you live and breathe it.
Yeah, life's about the journey. You have a destination in mind, and you want it to be a nice destination. But it's like a car ride. Look out the window. Have a look around. Enjoy yourself. And I've been guilty of not necessarily taking my own advice over the years. And I've got staff and friends who'll advocate and say, you bang on. You'll be the first one to tell people that they need to take a break, or they need to, do something and just, break the monotony. But I'd be the last one to actually take my own advice, which we might touch on this a bit later. I've had a bit of a wake-up call in the last 6 months that realigns that, and you go, you know what? You gotta stop. You got to enjoy what you're doing every day.
Wow.
And, life will be easy.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at now.
And it's so cool to hear, because usually, you see leaders on LinkedIn and things like that. They're all about the vision and goal and that sort of thing. And you're bringing it back down to that personal level. We'll get more into it. But that was one of the things that when we met last week in your office and we sort of chatted, and you were like, hey, I'm pretty open to talk about a few of these things and just be, open about it, because, there's not many fellows out there like you that have had a career like you. And I, as you know, I've got a lot of respect for you. So I look at you and I go, man, I want to be like that guy. It must have just been a cruise. Like, he's just a leader, and he got leadership positions, and he went that way, and he kept going that way, and he's gone that way, and then he's going to take Apollo Patios that way. And that's how I feel sometimes the outside world perceives what a successful leader like you.
Leadership's hard. It's not easy. Some people find it easy. Others don't. And I was sharing with you earlier that for much of my career, I was a reluctant leader, or someone who actively shied away from it, who actively tried to not be thrust into leadership positions or actively just avoided the opportunity. And then that changed along the way. And I'm glad maybe it took a bit of age and a bit of maturity and a bit of experience to get that sort of knocked into my head. But I'm glad that there was an opportunity that was presented to me once that I had to make a decision on the spot to go for it or not. And it was a big decision. And that decision, it was back when I was working at BlueScope and I was working in a BDM role in specification. And I enjoyed that role. It's one of my favorite jobs that I've ever done, is dealing with builders and architects and building designers and engineers. And, you get to meet all these great creative people and
find creative solutions.
That are steel intense.
Like
it grows. It was about growing the opportunity for BlueScope and BlueScope products. And it was about, all right, displacing other materials, whether it be concrete or aluminium or glass or whatever the situation might be, and aligning that with BlueScope's customers and their solutions. And because BlueScope essentially does nothing that a builder can use. They make big pre-painted coils of steel or metallic coated coils of steel. You can't drop one of those on site and go, there you go, guys.
Do something with it.
Go rip, let's have a crack at it. But your customers do, and they transform it into, all these amazing products. And so it was about aligning all of that. And I love that job. It was such a cool job. And then as what happens in big corporates, you can sort of set your calendar by it, and every couple of years or 2 years at BlueScope, there's another restructure. And, this one was a doozy. And it was quite a few people were, made redundant, quite sadly. And some of those people you work with along the way, and some of those people who'd been long-term BHP or BlueScope people were cheering, because it's like, I've been here for 35 years, I'm getting a redundancy. It's like winning lotto. And others who'd been there for a long time were deeply affected by it. But then the opportunity came to me, and it came really, really quickly. I was sharing the story with you. Like one Monday, I got the call and it came up on my phone. It was like the head of HR. And it's like, oh God, it's the head of HR. What have I done? What have I said? Oh my gosh, did they hear that conversation that, was probably, a private one? And it's just like, oh my goodness. Answered the call, and it was, it's like, okay, Dan, we're going through this, restructure. You're being considered for the building market manager role. Can you have your resume to me by Wednesday? And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. When these things happen, the answer is always yes, and then worry about it later. So it was literally yes. And I quite literally sort of dropped everything I was doing, went home and polished my resume.
Wow.
Had that back the next day. And then it was like, okay, resumes received. All right. Simon Croft, who's, is going to be eventually became my boss. He's in town Friday. You ready for an interview? Yep. Okay. Yes. Answers yes. So again, we'll meet you, at a off-site location, and away you go. And then so those opportunities that shape you, that they come along, and you've got to make a decision. And that's sort of, I'd had leadership roles in other organizations before that, but this was the one that at that time, and this is 2014, shaped the rest of my career.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most prestigious positions in the industry. It really is. BlueScope are, a great manufacturer, or, supplier of steel, and they don't manufacture the sheets and things, but like it's a revered position. Would have been a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Big change to my day to day.
Yeah.
So from being, an external person, like I was often heard and not seen, I was out calling on all sorts of a variety of customers. And that's what I loved. I love the variety of the day. I hate Groundhog Day type, rinse and repeat. You're doing the same thing every day. You're turning up to the same location. You're going through the motions. Your role is a leadership role, but it's an administrative role, and it's about approvals and processes and systems, and which are all very necessary. And it's a good job, but that job, I did it for a bit over a year.
Yeah.
And I made a really tough call because it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I realized that job is a big job. It's one in the manufacturing world industry in Australia. You're the building market manager in Queensland. It's the biggest market, Queensland, for Colourbind out of all of the states.
You own it.
And you own it. You're the man or the woman, if case may be. You're the person in the seat. You're the one, And I had a great peer in John Zemas. He looked after the manufacturing and distribution market. So we were kind of peers looking after different market segments, and we're both relatively young. He's a bit younger than me. And we were the guys. We were the two guys out there killing it. And but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
but I just did not like it. So I made that call and spoke to my boss about it over a couple of weeks, and just said, I want to do something different. I want to go back to my old role,
Wow.
and did it, and sort of took that step. If you look at it on the hierarchy of things, and took that step back,
Yeah.
and to do something that I'm more passionate about the company, loved the organization, loved the people I worked with. That role wasn't for me. And so, one of my early sort of mentors and leaders and person I look up to, and we're still friends to this day, has a saying. It's like, if you're not happy doing it, stop doing it.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
wasn't happy doing it, and I couldn't change myself to see what I could do to give myself more satisfaction about my job.
Yeah.
But I loved the organization, and then it was just like, I've got to do something different. It's a huge organization. It's the biggest manufacturer of anything in Australia.
Yeah.
There's more
Oh,
options here.
yeah.
There's more opportunities here. So I changed. I went back to a specification role and dealing with architects, engineers, building designers, and in that influential sort of demand generation role.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
and got to work with some people on some really cool projects, which was
That's so cool.
which is great,
You know what?
which I loved.
You know what, Dan, though? Like, that's what I love about you, man. And when as I got to know you and as we've been talking, like, what kind of guy or girl gives up a position like that? You know what I mean? It's a hard decision, because if I were in your shoes, I'll be honest, and I told you I wasn't a great leader and never had the opportunity to get into leadership positions. But if I had the opportunity and I got that position, I don't care how hard it would have been. I probably would have stuck with it, because I would have seen where it was going to take me in a sense. I know that sounds like pretty greedy, but you seem to have this self-awareness. Where does that come from? Because I think that is very interesting about you. You say a lot of things that we just talked about that I'm like, there was a good mentor of mine said to me, you've got to know yourself. And I've started to kind of know myself. I don't know if I really know myself, but you seem like you know yourself and know what you want, what you like, fills you up.
For a while there, I don't think I did know myself, and I had to have this sort of mindset around career progression. You got to be doing more, achieving more, making those climbs up the ladder, and you just got to choose the right ladder. And I guess I've always been about, you got to be your genuine self. You can't be anybody else. You got to be you.
I love it.
Like, you can't, if you're trying to be something else, you're acting.
Yeah.
You're not being true to yourself. I have no regrets about what I did at BlueScope, about taking the role,
Yeah.
but then
Absolutely.
stepping away.
Yep.
And it surprised a lot of people
Oh,
at peer level and higher.
so
The head of HR, the same person that rang me to say the opportunity is here for you to have a crack at it, was the same person who I then spoke to at length about when I was making that decision about taking that step back.
Yep.
And she was really good about it. At the time, it was like, oh my God, what this is, like, as you described, this is the role, this is the gig.
Yeah.
This is, it doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Are you really sure? And let's, step through that, and let's talk about it. And then, ultimately it was then left to me, is it the right decision for you? And I said, yes, it is. And then, okay, well, we support that. And,
Wow.
but you're going to have to keep doing it until we find a suitable replacement. And then, you transition out. So just like, I was more committed to that. And I said, well, as long as that takes, I'm happy to do the role.
Yeah.
And do a good job of it.
Wow.
And then I'll move on and do something else.
Yeah.
And I knew what I wanted to do, and that opportunity was there in the company as well. So
That's amazing.
yeah, they looked after me, and then, but
Amazing, Dan.
but then as time goes on, sort of, as a lot of my friends and people who I know in the industry might know me well, I've had a few jobs. I have bounced around a bit, and that was my makeup and what I did at that time. And then I then bounced off to another role, to work for essentially, what was one of my major customers.
Yeah.
Then I worked there for an extended period of time for about 6 years, and loved that journey too. So,
That's cool.
and then, eventually have then left there, during sort of COVID times to go take a role somewhere else. And then that's then led to eventually then landing here at Apollo.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey.
Yeah.
It's been my thing. A lot of people joke that, eventually that I landed at Apollo, I've had to buy my own job, whereas, and that's the way to get me to stay somewhere.
Yeah. And I bet they want you to stay there.
Well, no complaints so far. So, in fact, the opposite. But but it's going really well, and I've never been happier. Like, I enjoy going to work. I enjoy, and we'll touch on this. But there was a time there I didn't want to go to work.
Yep.
and got to a point where I just couldn't.
Yeah.
But I've come through that,
Yeah.
and then I used to dread the weekends because it's like, oh, I've got no control. Work stopped. I can't do anything. I'm no longer influencing. And then I get to the end of the weekend. And it's like, get to Sunday, get the Sunday dreads. It's like, oh, I got to work tomorrow, and
Yeah.
waiting for
Yeah, I know that feeling.
the anxiety and the stress and everything about running and owning, having equity in a business. But now it's the total opposite.
Mm.
I look forward to the weekend,
Yeah.
chill out, I relax, I
Yeah.
do cool stuff with my wife and my son, who are my number one supporters. We live a great lifestyle. We take time to relax and just either do something that we love doing or do nothing at all. Summer, float around in the pool, and like the rest of Australia did over summer, bought a slushy machine.
Yeah.
So have, drink slushies, whether they're, mocktails or cocktails. So yeah, that's what we do. And then I get to Sunday night now and I'm itching to get to work because I want to rip in with my team. I've got the best team.
Yeah, you do.
In in the industry. I genuinely respect and admire every single one of the 35 people.
Yep.
Or 34. I'm the 35th, but who work in the organisation, and I can't wait to rip in on a Monday and have another crack. At the 5 days that are in front of us to do good.
Yeah.
We've tipped things on the head this year. Like we used to have our management meetings on a Friday. I've gone up. Bang, 9 o'clock Monday. Went through it. We're setting the scene. We do a bit of a review of the week that was. We talk about it, and then we try to keep that tight to an hour.
Yeah.
Bit hard with me running the show because I do like to talk a lot.
But
then we're all fired up and away we go.
Yeah. Well, I was, as I said, I was there last week, Dan, and we talked about at lunch, and I wanted to say this on the podcast. I don't know. I call it a vibe. You go into a place and you get a vibe.
Yep.
And you kind of can tell the culture just by going in there. I went into your place. I felt 100% comfortable. And you saw by the end, I'm cracking jokes with the warehouse team, the team down the bottom.
Yep.
And you could genuinely see that your marketing team, the great ladies there, your operations team, everyone's on this journey. And as I've got to know you more today and you talk about the journey, it's like you build this culture. I think that is pretty unmatched in the manufacturing space. I will be freaking honest, because I've been into nearly every single one of them. And that's because it's a hard job.
Yeah.
It's demanding. You've got demanding customers sometimes. There's a lot of pressure to get things out the door.
Yeah.
So where did you learn how to do that through all your career, and like the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yeah.
Where did you sort of learn that stuff?
You take experience from everything that you do, good and bad. I've worked for some absolute legends of people. I'll give him a shout out, like Craig Robbins, who I worked with at Everhard. He's a mate of mine to this day.
Yeah.
John Rosette, who's the guy who hired me at BlueScope. He is, I call him, he's my mentor, but he's also one of my best mates.
Cool.
And we also had a full circle moment last year when, Apollo was looking at acquiring another business, and I would have had JR, who's now, he'll hate me saying this, but he's not as young as he used to be, and he's sort of wanting to transition into retirement. I had the opportunity to perhaps hire him to then run that division. It didn't eventuate for a whole host of reasons, but he was the guy. Yeah. And he was along that journey with, what we're doing, and he knew that, the reasons why we didn't do it, and he's totally on board and totally understands. But he would have been the guy that I would have had running that sort of thing. So it's a bit of giving back to the people that gave a lot to me. You learn a lot around culture from your experience, whether that be social or work. Yeah. And so like I said, I've worked with some great organisations and great people. I've also, like we all have, we've worked with some people that, where the experience wasn't so great. And so you learn a lot of what you want to replicate in terms of the good, and you also learn, no way I'm going to manage a person like that. Manage a team like that. So I'm very, I guess, very personable with my team. Absolutely. Like I've shared with you, like
I saw it. I saw it.
Like every day. Like, and I've worked in large manufacturing organisations where it is literally the manufacturing operation and the sales and the admin, and then the three don't mix, and they're actually in some instances physically separated in different buildings. Yeah. The interaction
is minimal,
and it's not natural when it does happen. So you learn a lot from that. And so my day to day, like when I pull into work, find a car park, which you've been, is not always easy to do. There's trucks and there's vans and utes, and so you get your steps up. I'm going to walk down the street to get to work, but I don't enter through the office. I'll go and punch in through the factory, and I'll go out onto the floor, or go and see
First thing.
Robbie, our operations or factory manager, West manager, first thing, and just go and say good day, everyone. And it's not a fake sort of thing. It's where it's like, what do I do? And to be a good manager, the first thing he says, walk the floor. Okay, I'll go walk around the floor and say good day. And you don't know, they know, hey man, hey mate, how you going sport? It's actually get to know them as people, because they're working for the organisation and they've got their cog, cog in the machine that's actually got to do a part about delivering an outcome for our customer. And so you take any one of those cogs out, the whole machine doesn't work. So it's about, I'll walk around and say g'day. Everyone who works for me's got a nickname. So, I'll go say g'day to Hollywood or Rob, who's our
Cam the bomb.
Cam's the bomb. He's not Cam, and he's not the business operations manager. It's the bomb.
I love that one because,
bomb.
as you know, I kind of personally know him, and we saw him in the factory, and then you were like, "This is the bomb," and I was like, "Oh man,
he is the bomb."
Yeah, that's so cool. Dan. And that's the thing. Like, I think we talked about it, and one thing I do want to express on the podcast is we've had a few people on the couch, and I'm not bagging anybody, but excuse me, there is nothing that beats lived experience. And like when I've met you, there's theory to it and whatever.
Yes.
But it's not like you don't talk about leadership and the things you do like a quote from a textbook.
No.
You're like, we do this because of this, and like there's certain ways that you think about things, which I think I'd love you to talk about in terms of even your one-on-ones and the way you do that. I think that's really interesting. But and I saw it in practice when I'm there at your place of business. I was on the floor. G'day, Dan. Oh, that's the thing. Oh, say g'day to Aaron.
Yeah.
Man, like and every happy, productive, collaborative.
Yep. Yeah.
It felt easy.
It's you got to, and I say this to a lot of people. Like I wanted to create the culture, and have be, and I didn't create it. Everyone who works there has had their contribution to it. But you want to create an environment where if I wasn't the CEO or I didn't have equity in the business, would I actually want to work there? Would I want to turn up every day and put in and think of it more than just a job? And so that's really the mindset that I have around this, to take a third person sort of lens, just go, all right, well, if I worked here, would I like it? And it's a competitive marketplace. Good people are really, really hard to find. And when you find them, you got to give them a reason to stay. And that's the key. So
I love it.
So it's, we're creatures of habit, but you got to make good habits.
Yeah.
You got to really make it, we've attracted some really good, high caliber, good people, and we hire good people, and we really make sure that they're going to fit with the culture. And you hire on enthusiasm and ability. You don't hire just based on a set of criteria and they know this ERP system and they understand how this works, and you're ticking boxes like they're just check boxes on on some HR manager's sort of a list, and you go, all right, well they fit the criteria. For me, it's cultural fit, it's attitude, it's the vibe. It's like it's the castle, but but this is how it has to work, because you spend more time with the people in your waking hours, the people that you work with, than you do with your own family. And so you got to make it an environment that everyone likes.
Yeah.
And we work hard, and we make sure that we're delivering good outcomes for ourselves and our customers and our customer's customer in this instance. But you got to have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
And there's like you can't just go, well, you can go, hey, ChatGPT, how do you create good business culture? And it'll give you an answer. And that answer is probably a good answer. But it's not any one thing. There's no manual around it that suits your business. And it's no one sort of, there's the 10 things that you got to do. It's the hundreds of little things that actually make it up. Or there's big things that actually make it up, and how you create the framework, how everyone can collaborate and be involved in the build up of the organization. And we really do that. We actually make sure that everyone gets a say. The decision I was telling you about, that we were going to acquire a business, we put that to the management team saying, we have this opportunity to do something that's pretty big.
So you guys as owners did that?
And we got our management team in, and it was just, what do you reckon?
Open conversation.
From a marketing point of view, from a sales point of view, from a procurement point of view, from a finance point of view, from all of the operational sort of divisions within the organisation. What do you reckon? So we went around the table.
You didn't have to.
Didn't have to at all. could have said, hey, guess what? We just bought this business.
That's what usually happens.
And then it would have been like, oh, crap.
Nightmare.
Or did you
Not nightmare, but I mean like
but
the people go.
but then the perception of those people going, oh, but did you think about the consequence that this might happen with this and the overall effect
That's
on the
why I
whole
say it's so
business?
practical. Like,
Yeah.
it's experience. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
And that's not just me. So
Yeah, I know.
one of my business partners, like Tim,
Yep.
he's the chairman of Apollo. I learn a lot from Tim.
Yep.
And I'm sure he learns a lot from me as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's very good at that, that collaborative,
That's cool.
or that collaboration that we have across all of the team. So but it's also you bring the people into the decisions like that, and not always, but they get buy-in into it and they value it more, and they'll actually work towards the outcome better because they've had the contribution into whatever that may well be.
Yeah,
and you do that across the whole business as well. So it's like, hey guys, we need to buy a new forklift. Which one do we buy?
Yeah, yeah.
And you talk to the guys that, well, you got to drive it.
Yeah.
What is it? And that's a real simple example. Or we had an opportunity that there was a guy who left on the factory. He wanted to come back, and it's like, oh, what do you guys reckon? And it's like, well, you didn't know about this and this and this. And it's like, well, you got to work with him. You got to tell me. So, I'm up here in the office and I come down here a couple of times a day. You tell me what works, So there's a lot of that we have that collaboration. And then one thing that we've recently introduced, like when we have a new hire, we do, me or one of my team will be interviewing the individual, and then we'll do a cultural fit meeting where they actually get to meet the team that they're working with before they, we might have, indicated you're on a
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and it was in an I learned that from an organisation that I worked for a while, but it's something that I didn't do. And then Kat, who's our finance manager, so we've just hired someone to fill a vacancy that we have due to took one person out of customer service and put him into an admin role in accounts because we needed support there. So then we're going to backfill in customer service.
Yeah.
So then it's like, all right, we've recruited an absolute gun who's worked in the industry for a long time, great person, I believe, great attitude, and she's going to be a great fit for the business. But I don't have to work with her day to day, side by side. Customer service team does. So it's like, all right, team, let's get together. I know her through the industry. Two other teammates know her and value her and respect her, but they don't have to work with her day to day. The team, let's get her in. Let's just have a casual chat. And that's what it is. It's not, it's not an interrogation, but it's just a casual chat, and just sort of, and then it's like, yeah, no, I think this will work. And I'm really, and so we do that. We don't do it for every role, but it's for the ones that are where there's got to be a lot of interaction and communication and sort of a shared approach. Yeah, we're taking that approach to things.
Mate, I'm blown away. That is exactly why I've got you on. Like the practicality, the logical. It's not in a manual. It should be in a manual, but it kind of shouldn't be because it's kind of like do you have a high level of emotional intelligence, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe.
I
don't know. It's not.
You seem like, I don't even know the way you talk to me. Like I feel comfortable. Talk about how you do your one-on-ones. Like there was massive, like in that section, please rewind everybody. If you're a leader in the construction industry, I don't care what size your business is, like all of what you just said, have a think about that stuff. Yeah. Like, man, that is everything, like right there. And you can see it in your team, in the way you perform. I don't want to say it, but it showed me your growth numbers. Obviously, it does go from a happy vibe in a business, which lots of people go, oh, what's a vibe? But it results in results.
I'm a firm believer that culture is the cornerstone of everything.
Yeah, wow.
Right? So you get the culture right, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not something it's just go, all right, well, insert culture, uploading, and boom, it's done, right?
That'd be good.
But it's something that it takes time to evolve. Once you get a good one, and it is driven from the top. So it's driven by myself, CEO, and driven by Tim, our chairman.
100%.
And then, and I'll give you an example in a minute.
If it's driven the other way, remember the example you gave to me at lunch. I've been into other manufacturers where it seems like the warehouse team has its own culture, the office team has its own culture. Then you got problems.
You got problems where people who are working different, they don't know each other's name, they don't interact, and then someone from the factory has to come into the admin office to do something, and it's like, oh, I've never been in this building before, and then they don't know the people or too many of them, and they're a bit intimidated and a little bit fearful, and it's like, God, who wants to work there? And then and then like big corporates work in a particular way because they have to and because they're big. But I still believe large organizations have a responsibility to create good culture. And then I've worked for organisations that they'll tell you, oh, our culture here is brilliant. Well, people who are working at the top of the executive level wouldn't have a freaking clue about what's happening on the factory floor and what the vibe is and what the culture is. They wouldn't be able to find the factory lunchroom if you gave them a map. They just don't know.
I love this.
Yeah, but
You're true. I love it.
Yeah,
You are a freaking good leader. I love it. No, but it's true.
But back to your question about what we do with one-on-ones. So we have a management meeting on every Monday morning.
Yep.
And it's about making sure that we're all aligned to the key priorities that we've set for 2026. And, that's around, operational efficiency. And it's always about safety is always the first thing that we talk about, which is a learning from BlueScope. And, as an owner of a business, and a manufacturing business, my greatest fear is someone goes home from work injured or worse. So we always talk about safety, and a lot of what we around that is compliance around safety, and it's very necessary. But then we get into, all right, so the priorities for 2026 are boom boom boom. What are we doing on the various projects around that we're trying to tick off. And so that's the high level sort of set the scene, and then we talk about sales numbers, and we try to keep it bright and breezy, and then keep it's a bit of a motivational sort of thing, but it's also just a good way to kick off the week. So it's sort of get everyone around the table, and it's in our organisation there's good banter that we all have amongst each other, but there is the serious side to what we do, and we focus and we get on with it. From there, then later in the day on a Monday, I start doing one-on-ones with all of my team. Some of them love and crave a structured one-on-one. So Mel, head of marketing, she needs that, as does Cam. Kat, finance is a very regimented thing. And Ben, who's our procurement manager, I actually have a structured one-on-one. I sit down and we go through what we're working on there to, what are we doing to increase stock turns around the various projects around that with procurement. Then I've got staff who, if you sat down with them across a table and had a structured one-on-one, it wouldn't be effective. It's about understanding your employee and how they operate and how they operate best, and in what environment do they get, and how do you get the best out of them. So Robbie, who's my factory manager and has been with the company for 25 years and he's invaluable. If you sit him in a desk and go, all right, let's bring up our Monday board and here's all the tasks, he'd be like fish out of water. That's just not how he does it. But he doesn't even realise it, and he probably will now that he's watched this podcast, that I do my one-on-one with him through conversation throughout the day. And I catch up with him. It'll be a casual chat.
I love it.
Over a Red Bull at the vending machine in the lunchroom, or it'll be out on the factory floor, or we'll ask him, what's happening with, the upgrade to whatever machine, or what are we doing here? So, and then I'll go have my own Monday board around operations that he doesn't have access to, because I just don't want to burden him with it, but I want to keep the progress going on. What's the taking it from something that's underway to, love seeing the done, complete green boxes at the bottom of the Monday. So it's about picking your mark and understanding your employee and making sure that, how do you motivate them? And you don't want to bog some people down, but some people love, like Cam, for instance, loves it. And he's so regimented and orderly, and it's just, that's how he does it. And he's too, and I was sharing with her, he's too into it sometimes. Sit down on Monday, our meeting's at 3:00 on a Monday, and he comes bounding into my office, and I've got a screen that, share the, stream, cast the laptop up onto, and he's like, right, number one. And I'm like, Cam, just wait, mate, how are you?
Mate.
And then just slow him down, and then he's like,
that's a leader.
Good, how's the kids? How's what do you know? And then we start having a chat, and then we build into the meeting.
And I bet you that, and I know Cam pretty personally, and I think that would set him just at ease. It just sets the meeting at ease. You actually give a shit, and that was the other thing, Dan. You actually give a shit. There's not many leaders out there, and again, why I wanted you on here, that go to that level of, and why I asked you for emotionally intelligent, of coaching. I know you didn't want to use that word, but I actually think the best leaders are coaches. And you talked about it, but I'm taking words out of your mouth.
You are,
But you said, we haven't even talked about getting into Apollo. But anyway, you're just too fascinating. We'll get into that.
We make patios, yes.
We'll get into that. But this is about you, because I'm fascinated. But you said, I am no longer the CEO, really. I'm not like that. I am the leader, but I am the coach.
And
so, I coach my team.
As much as I love sport.
You're an AFL coach, isn't it?
I am an AFL coach, yes, at junior level.
Lovely.
And I love sport. I'll watch sport, not just AFL. I like any sport. If there's a bunch of people running around on a grassy paddock kicking a ball, I'm probably going to watch it, right? So that's what I do. Sporting analogies sometimes in comparison of, sporting teams in comparison to working, occupational teams. It's a easy and sometimes a lazy comparison to do, but it's a natural one. It's a team and a team, yeah. And I try not to, but I do come back to it because I am a coach and I played Aussie rules as a kid, and then I've ended up being a coach. So it's like I guess my evolution through Apollo has been through a player. So I've been on the field to then probably then being captain of the team, and then probably then being like a captain coach, and then now I'm coach. So my operational day-to-day stuff, I love getting involved in the business and doing things and getting involved from a sales perspective. And if in I make sure that I drive a ute.
Yeah.
It's a nice ute. I drive a ute and I make sure my ute, our sales team's ute, our operations manager's ute, they all have racks on it. So if a customer needs something in a hurry and our own logistics capabilities are full for the day, one of us will rush something out the side. And it's sort of, and I'm not beyond or above doing that.
I know that.
Yep. So I'll get that done.
And I know that because I was there last week.
Yep. Yeah.
If Dan was out there, like, this is the type of bloke you are, mate. But this is leadership. This is coaching. Like I think you're one of the, absolutely, the more I get to know you, you are one of the best leaders out there, I think. And I see all these leadership coaches and all these sorts of, and I keep talking to you about this lived experience, but the way you do it, the way you figured it out, like everything, Dan, is pretty unique. A lot of people don't do the things that you do. And you can see the result, man. And you can, and it's not, it is the people. Obviously, it's the people, I know your people, but it's also, I don't want to just talk financial, but the financial result does come along with it. It's fascinating, man.
You build the culture, you get it right, success will follow. Now, you get the culture right around the collective, around the set objective and the steps you need to take to get there. You can find that by the budget. Things cost money to do. We're all responsible to a set of numbers in every function of every business, but you set the boundaries around that. The time and budget, and this is what we need to do. Shared, the shared deliverables upon that. Who's going to do what. Have a good time doing it. Get it done, and then success follows from there. And the customers see that too, because you're delivering reliability, and that's what Apollo, I believe, has become known for in our industry, is getting it right the vast majority of the time. Now, we don't measure DIFOT, so delivering in full on time in a structured way. We want to, but then it's like, do we need to? Yeah, we probably do need to have some metrics around all of that, and we will in time do those sorts of things. The real outcome is, the trust that the customers build up in you, that you're going to get it right. And we don't always. We stuff things up, we get it wrong, but it's then the response around that. And then the mindset you've got to have around that is about what's the customer's need. So we deal with patio dealers, whether they're our own Apollo branded patio dealers or independent ones. Their builders are generally subbies. Some of them employ crews on wages, but generally they're subcontracted crews who work almost exclusively for that patio dealer. Okay. So they're there today. So they've got to turn up and that patio kit's got to be complete. So we're delivering across Southeast Queensland on average around 20 custom built patios a day, let alone all the other just roofing that we manufacture and sell, just as roofing to other distributors and customers that we do. It's a level of complexity that goes beyond general roofing. So you deliver packs of roofing, roof battens, fascia gutter, flashings, etc. That's the kit of products. Loosely, we're delivering custom made insulated roofing. We got the biggest range of colours on the market. That's custom length. We don't do 3, 6, 9. It's you want 5.62 meter panels. That's what you're getting within a tolerance. It's the roofing, it's the flashings, it's the screws, it's the rivets, it's the stitching screws, it's the posts, it's the bracketry, it's the bags of concrete, it's the silicon sealants, the foam sealants. This is all put together, and every job's different, and all put together with accuracy and care and delivered. Now, if we miss something on that, we feel it. You go, oh, great. So the builder's on site. He's got to build that patio. It might be a 1-day build, a 2-day build, a 3-day build. And he needs to have that, he or she needs to have that available and get that done. So they can move on to the next one. So they can then put their invoice into their the dealership. If it's not there, they're delayed.
Absolutely.
They're cranky. They're not earning money. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially if like the posts that we've delivered are the wrong color or damaged or whatever, it's the first thing you need.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to put a patio up there that posts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sky hooks,
Yeah.
just hope that it's, but it's like, all right, what are we going to do to respond to this?
Yeah.
How do we get that out quickly? Yesterday, I told you this, I drove to Maryborough.
Yeah, you did.
With 5 100 and 140 by 140 smooth cream posts that were 4 point whatever meters long, because we'd missed an opportunity to get those to our powder coater, to have them powder coat a particular color so they met the truck, our own truck. And, so we had to send the rest of the delivery and knew that, all right, we can catch this up. So it's then like, how are we going to get it there? And I heard about this situation. It's like, all right, can the powder coater get it powder coated in time? Yep, it'll be done by, close of business the day before. Okay, no worries, we'll get it out the next morning. Yeah, Dan, the job's in Maryborough, 3-hour drive.
And you did it.
Well, there was no one else available, right?
Sure.
So our BDM who covers that territory and that customer, he's floating around in the ocean on a cruise, so he's kind of not available to do that. Josh, our sales manager, was going the other direction. Robbie wasn't available, our factory manager. All the other crew were full. So it's like, go get it done.
Yeah.
Got to get it done. Whilst up there, I saw other clients and did things and spent some time on the phone and had my informal one-on-one with Robbie. So the time's not wasted. You just got to pivot and just get it done. Get the job done.
Yeah, yeah, and it's almost like you think about how can I be useful in that time.
Yeah.
That's what I got from you just talking to you. Always like, how can I be useful? How can I add value to people? It's the coaching thing as well.
I did spend a lot of time in the car and an opportunity to catch up on my Good Builder podcast listening.
Oh, I hope so, mate. No, it was Peter Wood, not me. Peter Wood is a very valuable.
It's a very good episode. Mate.
Oh, thank you, mate. I reckon this one. Well, as I said, speaking of Peter Wood, and I love you, Peter Wood, we're going to have you back on. And guess what? I want to have you back on with this leader. You two are two of the biggest leaders and coolest leaders that I've ever met. You've got the lived experience. I'd like to get both of your perspectives and sit you on the couch and have a chat about how you do stuff. And you can chat amongst yourselves how you've got about different. I think that would be a very cool pod and case study.
Okay.
And even just, all the examples you've given now, like just talking through those, mate, there is so much value in what you were saying and the way you do it. I always think like you think about, business and the school system. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I always find that business and the school system, and maybe it's why I never became a good leader and I would have loved to work under you. I probably would have became one, I think, because you would have coached me in the right way. But they do seem to standardize the way they do things. And you just talked about it, but that's why I love the stuff you do, because you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't work for Robbie. That works for Cam and that might work for Mel.
Yep.
But I'm going to do this for this person because I think that works better for them.
Yep.
And then you're working with it, make changes as you see fit, or it might not need to change, and you get the best out of people.
Yeah. And a one-on-one meeting that I have, it might go for an hour, it might go for 15 minutes. And you block out some time in someone's calendar.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, all right, if the meeting's come to a conclusion and you get to a point of diminishing returns in the meeting and you're just sort of padding and filling out the time, it's like, oh, I'm busy, you're busy, let's use that time. Let's get on with it. Let's go and kick some butt. Yeah, but it might go for longer than an hour if need be. Yeah. Like we got a lot on. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that I can't tell you about at Apollo that we're doing to actually supercharge our business. And it's always about our customer service. Like we're known for our service and we're passionate about it. And it's something that we will never, ever, ever give up on. That is serving our customers well. And we get a lot of, like with our Apollo Patios business, that brand, we get a lot of unsolicited approaches from different patio companies who want us to supply them. And we have to make a conscious decision about, well, do we or don't we? Because like in any factory, you've only got so much capacity.
Absolutely.
What do you actually do? Can you take it on? Do you not? Do they fit our mold? Do they not? What's the impact on our business if we do this? And a lot of the times it's like, well, yes, make it work. And sometimes it's like, it's not a no, but it's a not yet.
Yeah.
Until we're ready. So we're investing in new machinery and doing things. We've got things that are happening that this year will have to arrive and be bedded into our systems and processes, which means we've got to then go work with our consulting engineers to actually have all of that as part of our system and make it available and make sure it's all compliant and works. And there's a heap of work that we're doing, which is really, really, really exciting stuff that I just cannot wait to have, because it takes our business to another level. Yeah.
I hope we can get a bit of an exclusive on the Good Builder. Because like I said, I'm going to stick pretty close to you, mate.
I think you're a persistent character.
I am. I'm going to have you back on, mate. I want that exclusive. Yeah, but you know what we haven't even talked about there? Sorry, guys. Well, actually, the podcast today wasn't actually about patios. It was actually about debt. My whole vision, my vision for this first podcast anyway, guys and girls out there, is introduce you to the man. Also, it's also like, it's lessons in leadership. I want people to, like, some of the stuff, you and Peter Wood, as I said, some amazing leadership. There was some amazing lessons there. But also, on the commercial side of things, let's talk about Apollo Patios. So this gentleman here moved into Apollo Patios and you were an employee?
I was.
And then something happened.
Yeah, no, I started at Apollo in January 2023.
Yep.
In a sales role. And that was to broaden sort of what Apollo was doing at the time, to go from this very good business. So we go back 12 months before that. Apollo was a business. It had been around for a long time. It was started by a family-owned business.
Yep.
And then that family sold to what was a consortium of 5 individuals, 5 guys who were mostly came together because they were friends and brought together by one individual, and they wanted to invest, and they brought Apollo Patios.
Yep.
One of them was already working in the business, and he sought the other 4 to buy. And the original founders were getting to an age where they just wanted to retire.
Yep.
And so there wasn't a succession plan within the family there. And so they had a business where it was manufacturing and retailing. So they split the two. So they sold the retail side off, and then the manufacturing part to these 5 gentlemen.
5 guys. Yeah.
One of them was the CEO. And so he was running the business and doing a really good job. However, and then he did some great things, like the rebrand around Apollo was started. And so he hired Mel, who's our head of marketing. Mel was, working sort of on her own to rebrand the business and reinvigorate what was already a very good brand into one that, was excellent.
Yeah.
So the brand itself and the logos and everything was getting a bit tired. It was off its time when it started, but it just sort of didn't, wasn't suitable anymore. So it's got a big refresh to what you see today, which is amazing. It's just such a good brand, such good artwork and everything, and it's really cool. It's really cool. I came on then in January the following year. That gentleman's past, let's say, caught up with him. He'd been involved in some fraudulent behaviour at a previous employer.
Yep.
That sort of came to the fore. Apollo's name got brought up in a media, in a newspaper article. He hadn't disclosed that he was going through all of this at the time to the rest of the board, and he had to go, and he went. And so the chairman, who's Tim, who's still the chairman at the time, and this is all in the public domain. You can look all at this.
Oh, thank you, mate.
And so Tim at the time, great businessman, but never really spent a lot of time in a manufacturing business, and he had to step in as acting CEO for a period of time, and he was like, oh, okay, wow, this other gentleman was running it on behalf of the rest of the board. Okay, what do we do here? And I was there, and I had one of those moments of, momentarily it was like, oh shit. But then it was like, okay, there's opportunity here. And so after a couple of days, I went and saw Tim and said, I can do this for you. I can help you run this business. And so we got the rest of the management team at the time together, and basically we took stock of where the business was at. And then we, probably unwittingly at the time, started the build to what you see the Apollo is today. So within a few weeks, Tim could see the potential in myself, and I became general manager of Apollo Home Improvements Queensland, Apollo Home Improvements Australia, sort of the 2 entities that we have. And then we progressively started transforming the business and started growing sales and changing the operation of the business to going from what we were producing, in a week, which is now what a below average day is. So we've really tipped the business on its head. Like, we've gone from that period of time from a total staff of 12 to now what will be 35, and it'll be 36 come the start of March. Staff, this is 3 years now. Yeah. So there's a lot of work that's gone on in the last 3 years.
And I think this amplifies what I said earlier in the podcast around your leadership and taking people on the journey.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to do the math in my head, Dan. 10 times your business?
Probably not quite that much, but yeah, it's
fairly close.
You're getting there. Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
You need to take people on a journey because it's a pretty established brand. They would have been working there for a few years. You've gone, wait a minute, guys, we've got opportunity. We can do a bit better. We can service some more customers better than others can.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and you've got to take them on the journey. You've got to be open and transparent on what that journey is, and let them have the buy-in on how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So all of those staff that were there at the time when the business transition happened, and then when the, a year later when things started to change, like the real transformation of the business changed, the brand was already changing and refreshed the brand new website and everything. But, we're changing now the operation,
I didn't know it was 3 years.
and the function.
Even though we've been talking a bit, I kept in my head, I
Yeah.
thought it was like 5, 7 years.
Yep. Yeah. So no. So, and which it's a lot. So we've had staff, so Robbie's been part of the business for 25 years. Alan, who's one of our truck drivers, has been there 10 years. Tony, who works in customer service, has been there a long time. All of those key staff are still there.
And they're enjoying it. And you're 10 times busier,
Yeah.
and that's what I find awesome.
Yeah.
That is the mark of a true leader, good businessman. I know you've got a great team as well, great culture,
you can't do it on your
great
own.
everything else. I know, but it is like Robbie, I caught up with him real quick. You introduced me to him. He was pumped. Like, he was happy to work.
Oh,
he's probably working 10 times, not 10 times harder, but like he's doing 10 times more.
He has done. Robbie and I, we're good mates, but we've had our moments, in business or any relationship. There's always tension, but, he and I, we work so well together.
That's cool. It's awesome.
The road sometimes it's a bit bumpy, but, we all get along. Like everyone at Apollo enjoys each other's company.
Yeah.
Like we do some pretty cool stuff in our downtime as well.
Oh.
And, Christmas party, we went to Tangalooma, hey guys, you're getting paid today to go to Tangalooma to ride quad bikes and swim in the ocean and have a big buffet.
Into the pub next door, but anyway.
That's good too.
It's not bad.
But if that's
I
your
would have rather
currency,
Tangalooma, to be honest.
but if that's your currency and that's what you like, well, why not?
True.
We do our barbecue once a month, but every now and then we don't do a barbecue because the boys in the factory just love KFC.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like
KFC day.
It's KFC day. And that's their currency. They love it. That's the, they get paid well and they turn up and it's a nice environment to work. It gets hot in summer, it's cold in winter down in the factory. But, if you get a bucket of Kentucky, it's a pretty good deal.
I'd be up for that.
And if that's what you're passionate, it's like, this is.
For me, that's close to Tangalooma. I'm a big KFC fan. But then
there's a free plug for KFC there.
Sponsor us at the Good Builder. No, I don't want builders eating that shit. No, I love it. No, but then, so your journey there. So you put your hand up, but I can do this, Tim.
Yes.
3 years.
Here we are. And then in that time, so through to the end of, it's about September 2023, another one of the directors of the business, he wanted to take his investment out of Apollo because he's passionate about, he's from the he's in the automotive industry.
Yeah.
So he wanted to take his investment out and place it elsewhere. And because of that, the board then invited me and said, okay, well, Dan, you're doing a great job. We'd love for you to buy into the business and have skin in the game. And so I couldn't have said yes quick enough because I passionately believe then and I believe now about the future of this business. And for me, like, this is my opportunity to make a mark. This is my opportunity to have something that I can call my own, but it's not just my own. I'm very careful about the language I use at work as well. It's very collective language. It's about we, it's us, it's we're doing this. Our plan is, what are we going to do about this situation that's not going quite right? It's my business. We're going to do it my way, and I'm going to tell you how to do your job.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
That's
the Plummet Airways destination to failure. That is the quick way to alienating your staff and spend the rest of your life recruiting people because they don't stay. So we have a very stable workforce. We have very little churn, very little turnover. We have Cam, for instance, left and came back. We've had another really cool guy in the factory. He left. He wants to go try something different. He's come back, and so, these are the things where you welcome people back who work with you and work with integrity. And when they do leave, they leave with integrity as well.
Yeah.
And they don't, I'm out, I quit, I've resigned, I'll give you my 4 weeks and barely do the bare minimum during that time. And, thanks for the memories. We've got some really cool people. They're all really cool people. My management team they're the best bunch I've ever worked with.
Wow.
Sorry, I've worked with some really good people and they're really cool. And my factory team and the admin and they're all cool people. And we get along so well. And, like I said, it's not perfect every day, but it's close to it.
Yeah. Well, I know, as I said, I know Cam personally, and he's got high morals. He's got high value of himself.
He won't, high standards.
Like you said, he won't, which is a great lesson that you said, if you're not happy, don't do it. He's kind of like that. And I know he wanted to branch off and have a look at things, but, to come back to a business, number one, is super cool and shows the culture of that business. But I think number two, what it shows is you as a leader. I've had leaders in my life, and it was actually in the construction industry when I left this particular business, which I was disappointed in. And I left, I handed in my resignation, wanted to go and do other things. And I remember him saying to me, we'll find someone 10% better, don't worry about it.
Oof.
And I was just like, oh,
Oof.
man. I was like, I will never come back.
Yeah.
And you will probably never have me back anyway if you think of me in that way.
Yes.
And I think that was a really bad leader. He didn't even know what I did because he was never there. But anyway, I think it is a mark of a true good human, good leader, all of that. And I know, as you said, you're a humble dude. There's your team that build the culture and yourself. But for Cam, because I know him personally for years before he even worked at Apollo, it's cool, man, because I hold him in very high respect.
And he's quite open with the reason. Well, one of the reasons that he came back was culture. The culture at Apollo, he missed it. He missed the environment that, people's individuality, and we foster their own personal growth, and they're part of the team and they're part of the success. And it is a successful business. And it had, like any business, it hasn't always been smooth. And like any other business, it has you have your tensions, and as owners, you have your stresses and all of those sorts of things. But it's all part of your story. Yeah. And you come out the other side, and away you go. So we've grown a hell of a lot. We've sort of setting a platform now for extra growth, and our growth. The cornerstone of our growth is there's a lot of pillars that we have, and we have a lot of values that we talk about actively at work. And then they are on the board, on a wall, and on charts, and in behind glass and frames, and we don't treat them like they're sort of wanky corporate mumbo jumbo. To start with, people sort of see that and go, oh, you've got the company vision and you've got your key values there. It's like, but it's once you start ingraining those in your day to day and talking about them, people see the benefit in actually having them. I've worked for a lot of organizations. They've had a mission statement and then the company values, and they're just on the wall, and they're referred to as a reference point. Oh, where's the toilet? Oh, it's down there past the mission statement. It's just, it's not actually spoken about.
Yeah.
That's...
Or lived. You do it.
Not lived at all.
That is it, man. Yeah. Wow. We've never had a leader talk about that stuff. I always find that, because I'm very big on mission and vision statements and all those things and values of a company. But every time I've been involved in a company, there are things you brainstorm around a boardroom table, you put them behind a frame, exactly as you said, never spoken about again until the next business strategy. Oh, do we still believe in this? Yeah, we believe in it, but are we living it?
Are we living it? Yeah.
And that's what I saw with you.
Yeah. And a lot of organizations have them, and what they're saying is actually very valid and required, but they're not living it. No. And that's a really great way of putting it.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's what you do there, Dan. Yeah. I think the other thing was, you did share a little bit of a story, and if you don't mind sharing it, you talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the podcast. And I think this is pretty important for people when, you had a bit of a personal experience.
Yeah, I had a bit of a personal battle last year. So I guess it's caught up with business ownership and the pressures of running a business and having equity in the business. For me, it was a very drastic learning opportunity, and I set high expectations for myself, and it's not brought on by pressures by anybody else. It's me. It's my own. My sometimes the drive takes over, and I got to a point where I was building up my own stresses, and I was getting to a point sort of mid last year where I was having anxiety attacks. Historically, I have been a bit of an anxious person, but I think I'm able to mask it well, which isn't healthy. And then I got to a point where I was actually having anxiety attacks most days, multiple times a day, and it's building up, and then anxiety leads to stress, and then stress leads to depression. So I actually got to a point, and I talk about this because me talking about my experience might help someone. Yeah. And I don't want someone to get to the point where I got.
So cool.
Which is, I got to a point where it was like a very, very early September last year where I got to a point where I couldn't get out of bed. I was that stressed and that anxious, and I had that much dread about going to work that I physically could not get out of bed. And you hear people talk about this and you go, how can you not get out of bed? You stand up, you get up and you get on with your day, you go brush your teeth, you get on, get ready for work, and off you go. I couldn't do it. I didn't even realize at the time that I was sobbing, I was crying. My wife gets up every morning and, goes for a run. So she took the dog for a run. And so I sort of get up and get myself going and get, got a teenage son. So I've got to, peel him out of bed and get him moving. But, he's an absolute legend. He's great kid. And he heard, you could hear me crying. And he's come into our room and he's like, "What's wrong?" And he's thinking, "Oh my God, something's happened." One of our,
Yeah.
family, something's happened to a family member. I said, "Oh no, it's okay, mate. I'm just having a moment. I'll be okay. I'll be okay." And then I just sort of had that moment. I'm like, "What are you doing? You're not okay." Like my body is giving me that fight or flight, and it's choosing flight. It's choosing, you are, big fella, you are not ready for work today. Not today. You are not going to work today. It's telling me no. So my wife came home and my son sort of, he's like, met her and thought, dad's in a bit of a bad way. And so she's come upstairs and I said, I've got to go see a doctor. I'm at that point where I've hit the bottom and there is a lot further to go, but I've hit the bottom where I can't function. And so she's like, all right. So this was early. This is like 6:30 in the morning. This is happening even earlier. So we've had to wait till 8 o'clock till the GP, get in to see my GP. And I'm talking to the receptionist at the GP and she was excellent. And I'm sort of saying, I have to get in to see my doctor today. Oh, there's no appointments today. I said, oh, look, I'd really like to see him. I told her, why? And she's like, absolutely. Okay, 11 o'clock. And then she was great. She said, are you going to be okay until 11? I said, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But thank you. Thank you for asking. So I've gone in, my wife came with me and went to saw the doctor and I sort of told him about all of the stresses and things that have been going on, but leading up to this point, and he's asking and he's great. He's such a good doctor. And he's got to the point, where, and then this is the ultimate wake up call, which is why I share this story is, he goes, are you having dark thoughts?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I could see how people would.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could see how people would have that. And I'm not there. And I part of the reason why I wanted on that day was like,
You don't want to get there.
it's not going to get me. So, and then the next, obviously the call was to Tim.
Yeah.
It's about, this is what's going on. And he knew that I was stressed and leading up to it. And we were already had strategies of working. So, well, work from home day or two a week. And, let's talk about how he can do more and help me. And I think I needed to get to that point where it's just the absolute point of no return for me to get better.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to go to that point. It's horrible. It's a horrible place to be. So I basically took a month off work, which for me is,
seems like you've never done something like that before.
no. But, even before that, if work is like you'd go on holidays. I don't enjoy the holiday because I'm always on edge about work and the business. But I've had to learn in a very hard way.
Yeah.
Life's about life.
Yeah.
It's not about work. Work was always something that defined me, and
Yeah.
it was always about my job and my occupation. And now I've got a tremendous support in my wife. She's the most amazing person in the world.
Yeah.
My son is an absolute legend. These are the two people that matter above anybody else.
Yeah.
The Brisbane Lions football team comes a close third. So I had to get to that point, and so I had to go and see. I was regularly seeing my GP, seeing a psychologist, which I see less now, but still do see my psychologist regularly, just as a check-in.
Yeah.
I have tremendous support from Tim, who's the chairman, to make sure that when I did come back, I was ready to come back. My management team, a lot of them checked in with me while I was off, which was great to make sure that I'm all right. So in particular, Mel, Robbie and Josh, Josh was like, anything you need me to do, mate, it's done. Robbie is like, just checking in, mate, hope you're okay.
Awesome.
Mel was, checking in on me. And then so the first day morning back, they all knew what was going on, but it hadn't been openly spoken about.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was daunting, but it was like, all right, let's get around the boardroom table.
That's cool.
And let's talk about it.
Mm.
And as a consequence of that, we're all very aware, and we've all done training around the psychosocial impacts of work.
Yeah.
And then I take a very active sort of position to make sure that nobody at work is overworked and overburdened with their day to day.
Yeah.
To make sure that we've got the right resources for the split of, an equitable amount of work across everyone. Life's about enjoying your life.
Yeah.
It's about having.
That's cool, man.
I guess I used to have that mindset of live for work. Man, it's work to live.
Yeah.
And it's about. We went on holidays. We came up to the sunny coast of Markula the last week of school holidays. We had the best time.
Yeah.
And I was out, and for the first time in a long time, I was able to relax.
That's awesome.
And not give a shit about work, but then give a shit about it the moment you go back. And that's the way it should be. It should be a switch. Work, life, personal life. on off, on off.
It's so cool, man. Like coming from a leader,
Yeah.
you don't hear this stuff from a leader. And
You-
I think
you-
I got a little bit emotional just then because I'm
You
like,
did, mate.
I did,
But that's a normal human reaction.
Yeah.
And like mental health and having poor mental health is still something there's a stigma around it. Someone rolls their ankle or has a physical injury.
Yeah.
People don't go, oh gosh, don't talk about old mate because he's got a broken ankle.
Yeah.
There is still a stigma about oh gosh, he's cuckoo.
Yeah.
I've gotten over I'll openly talk about it.
Yeah.
There are some people who'll probably watch this podcast that I haven't shared this with that are close to me that
So
are
cool.
probably watching
Thank
this
you
and
for doing that,
going,
mate.
oh God.
Yeah.
I've only shared this with people who I think could benefit from me having that conversation because I can see that they're stressed and I respect them. And I don't want them to be in that way. I shared it with a few of my close mates because that's what mates should do. You should actually openly, women are far better about talking about their health.
Yeah.
Whether it be physical or mental. I'm not the CEO of the Commonwealth Bank or BlueScope or anything, but I'm of my humble little business. But people in a leadership position, I think, have a obligation to be open and vulnerable about things like this. If they're too guarded about it and putting up this front of perfection, it's fake. I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to like leadership ones where they'll interview the CEO and they say, oh, tell me about your typical day. And they'll be like, oh, I'm up at 4:30 and I'm doing a 10K run. Then I'm eating, I'm only eating a pure keto diet. And then I'm doing, this, it's all about just being this perfect model of a person.
Yeah.
Now, for some people, that's how they tick and that's how they operate. More power to you.
Yeah.
Most of us don't.
Nah.
Most of us don't.
99.9% of us.
Correct.
Yeah.
And most of us, so why does the CEO of a business need to be like that?
Yeah.
What a CEO of a business needs to be like is themselves.
Mate.
Like any other position within a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can be.
I think that openness and everything just grows respect. And you can, I don't know why I got emotional, mate. I think but I think I can relate. You become relatable.
Well, thank you.
And I think that's, the importance of leadership is you've got to have a relationship and relate to people and they're not like, as I said, before I met you, I look at you and I'm like, Dan Mulhern. I said,
yeah.
And you go, why would he want to talk to me?
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. But it's
Yeah.
so cool that you're so open to go, wait a minute, guys, we all go through this shit. I've been through some shit.
Yep.
I'm out the other side. I actually think that makes men and women who can go to some position that's near the bottom and come back out of it a very dangerous person in a good way.
I totally agree. I've never felt better about myself. Yep. My wife's been my biggest supporter for the 25 years that we've been together. Our relationship has never been stronger. My relationship with my son has been rock solid since before he was born. Now, we're so tight, because, I'm stopping to smell the roses, to use a bit of a cliched saying.
Yeah.
Until you realize you're not, you don't realize what you're missing out on.
Yeah.
And that's
What
really what's in
advice.
it. And I also it's also living and telling these stories today. It's not Are You Okay Day. It's not Movember.
Yeah.
Why,
Thank you, mate.
all of those things need to be talked about every day. You don't need to be, and I see a lot of people who I know and respect that they'll come out on those Are You Okay Day and say, oh, are you okay? Here if you need, sort of thing. And it comes from a really good, genuine place. Well, that's one day a year.
Yeah.
Are you open and available to listen to my story? And it's got to happen every day.
Yeah.
And so it was bloody hard.
Yeah.
But it was a great outcomes come from a horrible situation.
Yeah. And then you've taken that horrible situation and you're trying to educate others. And that is cool.
Yeah. One thing I did when I came back to work, I said to Mel, head of marketing, I said, I don't want to be the poster boy for mental health.
Yeah.
But I think I do.
Yeah.
Because
why not?
You hear a lot of horrible stories about guys who take their own life.
Yeah.
Who get to a point where they're in a very, very dark place, who don't feel as though they can speak because they feel they're going to be judged.
Yeah.
So I'm out of your millions of viewers, mate.
One day.
But it's like, you'll get there.
Yeah.
But it's here's the opportunity to sort of tell my story and hope that it does some good for somebody else.
Right. We've never, again, there have been so many firsts on this podcast, but I think that's a really important first on this podcast. Yeah. You're the first absolute legend of a weapon, of a leader who I think is one of the best in Australia to go, hey guys, this is me. This is what happened.
Yep.
Pretty raw, man. Pretty
Thank you.
cool.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, what have I got? I've delayed 1 minute, but I think I've only got about 5 minutes left with
Right.
you, Dan. But I'm going to
Okay.
bring you back on. This is probably our longest episode we've done, so we need to do part 2. I'm going to release this as a whole episode. I think it needs to go together
Yeah.
because there's a whole story behind it. We laughed, we cried, I cried. You didn't. I don't know why.
I'm just a
But
stone.
I know, I just respect you, mate. And I think when you were talking, I could feel it. And I'm just like, oh, so much in that industry. Like, I think, I'm that kind of person. But, mate, one more question for you, and it is our key question. You know, we're called the Good Builder.
Yes.
What makes a good builder or business or person?
I guess I look at builders as they are a business. What makes a good business is doing what you're passionate about and focusing on what it is that you do. And we sort of shared about this before, but I look at businesses like, I talk about roofing contractors. That's what I've been dealing with. You'll see a roofing contractor, you'll see their website or their site or their truck or their van or the ute or whatever, and they'll say something cliche like, we specialize in roofing for residential, commercial, industrial, sheds, re-roofs, roofing, and it's like, you're not specializing, you're generalizing.
We do it all.
You do it all, but how can you do it all?
Yeah.
So how are you attracting your market? How are you marketing your business to attract all of that? You can't, and most businesses and builders, and whether they're roofers or are small businesses, they're the big ones. There's the Corals and the Metricons and the GJ Gardners, and, but the majority of builders out there are small to medium enterprises, mum and dad businesses.
Yeah.
So it's about picking your mark, picking your niche, picking your area of specialty and honing in on that. And if you're doing that, you're obviously passionate about it, you're good at it, you're going to build a reputation for being good about it. Success will follow. That's for me what the mark of a good business is, and in this case, what a good builder is.
I love it, Dan. And I did a podcast, actually. I think it was Monday, and I talked about, like, I used to be involved in a building business, and I was like, what was the first thing we did? And it was exactly what you said. We found out what we wanted to do, and we went and did it, and we honed in on that.
Hone in on it.
And it's when you know what when you know what you're going to do, you're going to deliver it better. You're going to be more passionate about it. You're going to be all of that sort of thing. So I love the way you spoke about that. And you see that a lot in trades, and it's really good advice. I see a lot in roofers, especially. There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. And that's what we do at Apollo. We hone in on home improvements. Apollo Patios, we are 100% about home improvement products, and how do we deliver the best products that the customer needs? How do we deliver the best service? And we're passionate about that to make that client successful. We have successful clients. They buy from us. We're successful. You can't exist without customers. Can't exist without those good ones.
This podcast has just been a lesson for everybody. I love it. Yeah, Dan, mate, as I said, we are going to have you back on frequently. I'd love to have you back on. I want to have you back on with Peter Wood. I want to talk about leadership, break it down a bit, get some different perspectives from you both, get a chat amongst you both, because you're both leaders. I've never been a leader. It would be great for you two to talk about leadership. But also, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here, getting to know you. It's fascinating what you've done. Apollo Patios and everything that you've got coming on in the future. I know you can't tell everybody. Keep an eye out, builders. It's going to be pretty cool. How do they get in touch with the Apollo Patios, Dan? If any of the builders out there,
out there, us up on our website. There's a contact page there. That's the best way to get hold of us. There is something big that's going to be happening, which is very trade focused as well. So we're talking about how do we create another brand under the Apollo portfolio that is, all of our marketing that currently with Apollo Patios is retail focused. It's all about lead generation, mums and dads, home improvements, build a patio, build a carport. And this is, and I know you've picked up on this, before I joined Apollo, and not long before that, I didn't even realize that Apollo manufactured. I thought they were a patio dealer buying components from the general market, from essentially what is our competitors. And I used to call us the best kept secret in town.
You are?
In the patio industry, I don't think we are anymore.
Okay.
So patio dealerships know that we exist. General roofing, or the roofing trade, whether it be commercial or residential or industrial, don't know we exist. So for them, we are the best kept secret in town. So we are creating a new brand to target our marketing towards the trade. Doesn't change anything that we do. It's all the same stuff. It's just for a different audience.
Fantastic.
So watch this space, mate. It's going to be big.
Yeah. Well, I know we might not have the exclusive. You got to do your thing and get it out there from Apollo. But when you, beyond leadership lessons, you know, some of the personal lessons in life and your lived experience, which I'll have you back on and back on and back on, because I think it's benefiting me as well as everybody else. I would love to talk to you about that when it hits the market, because I'm sure a lot of our trades out there would be quite interested in knowing about this best kept secret. Thank you, mate.
Why keep it a secret? Get it out there.
Get it out there. Well, mate, you're an absolute legend. Once again, thank you, Dan, and we will see you shortly on the Good Builder podcast, mate.
Thank you. Thank you, mate.